Midnight ski in the woods. This was a few years back when I used to smoke the reefer. I was under 21, so weed was the natural go-to for my friends and I, even though I get pretty paranoid from it. One random night in mid-January, like a Tuesday or something, my buddy and I decided to go blaze at the Metro Parks. The Metro Parks are a large natural reservation link of forest that lines many Cleveland, Ohio suburbs. Within the several square miles of the Metro Parks, people can bike, horseback ride, fish, etc. During the daytime, it's beautiful. At night, however, the Metro Parks are officially closed, with the only deterrents to keep scumbag teenagers and the like out are the 2 or 3 park rangers that patrol the vast land. Being a natural reservation with absolutely no electricity, when nighttime falls, the place is dark. So, being the bored stoners that we were, my buddy Jerry and I decided to smoke up and walk to a location in the parks called Squaw Rock. It's an awesome location down by a river and is a great place to take a date or just hang out with friends outdoors. From the nearest parking lot, you still need to walk and hike about 15 minutes to get to it. We park my SUV and look for the trail to Squaw Rock. We are in the only car in this isolated parking lot. The total silence of the winter forest is only broken by the sound of our boots crunching the snow. So here we are, Jerry and I smoking, laughing, and walking the Squaw Park in the middle of the night. It's the dead of winter in Ohio, and thanks to the full moon reflecting on the fresh snow, our visibility is decent. I could easily see about 30 feet ahead of me in all directions, but total darkness further than that. We're walking in a narrow trail that follows the river. On our left is a deep ravine towards the river. On our right is a very steep incline back up to the ground level. While walking side by side, Jerry stops dead in his tracks and whispers, "Shh, dude, I heard something." I stop too and tell him it's probably a deer or something. I start walking again for just a moment, and swoosh, crack! Jerry and I both scream like little girls as a dark figure flies down from the steep incline on our right and lands on the trail 10 feet in front of us. I adjust my eyes and start to see a woman. In the pale moonlight, she looks like a fucking witch. She has dark eyes, long white grayish hair, and looks to be in her 50s. She's also dressed in a black snowsuit. I look down at her feet and notice she's fucking skiing. That's right, she's skiing by herself in the middle of the forest, miles from civilization after midnight on a Tuesday in January. Apparently, she was coming down the steep hill to the right of us, scattered with trees, mind you, saw us at the last second, panicked, and fell onto the trail. At this point, my stoned and paranoid brain is trying to process what I'm seeing. I'm truly freaked out. The Blair Witch on skis then quickly gets up and stares at us. The expression on her face is a cross between perplexed and angry, but not the least startled. Jerry asked her if she's okay. "Yes, fine," she replies in a slightly aggressive voice. Saying nothing else to us, she begins to make her way down to the river, the same place we were planning to go to. Jerry and I look at each other for a brief moment. I knew we were thinking the exact same thing. A combination of "did that just happen?" and "what the fuck?" We decided to quickly nope out of there and leave the park. To this day, I can't seem to wrap my mind around my Blair Witch ski encounter. Midnight meat. A couple years back, I lived for about a year and a half in Moscow. I mostly madly love that city. Thumbs up to any of you Redditors who live there. I was studying Russian and naturally I fell in a group with my fellow English-Russian students and expats. I didn't do my liver any favors since we went out and sampled the chaotic nightlife at least once a week, often more often. I'm not a massive party animal and I can't stomach going home in the wee hours of the morning all the time, so often I catch the last train home rather than go on to clubs and stay out till 5. A few quick facts for those not familiar with Moscow. 1. There are some very strange people in that city. Bless Moscow's little con socks, I love the place, but there are some proper oddballs. 2. The last metro train run at about 1:30 a.m. I think. Unless you catch that, you either gotta try your luck with taxis or walk, or wait until the morning trains and get in with the commuters. I'm a cheapskate, and getting the metro was always easier and cheaper. Number 3. The Moscow Metro is legendarily complicated and weirdly organized and intimidating. It's also kind of very creepy at 1 a.m. when, for a bustling metropolis, outside the city center, there aren't many people hanging around in the stations. Those big, grand, Stalinist halls, totally devoid of anyone else. Bloody freaky. Like the setting of some weird dystopian, futuristic zombie thing or something like that. I mean, it always gives me the weak heebie-jeebies, you know? I should also add that for some strange reason, the men in Moscow seem to think that I was a member of the sex industry all the goddamn time. This is mainly a problem in the winter months, maybe because Moscow women don't risk the minus temperature at 2 a.m., maybe just because, I don't know, I spent most of the time dressed like Scott of the Antarctic and trying not to faceplant on black ice, none of which screams prostitute to most people. So, on to the weirdo. I've been out to the bars with my friends, and since I planned a big sightseeing day the next day, I bailed on going on the clubs and headed home. I had a few friends who lived on the same line, but this night, they were all going on a proper night out, so I thought, screw it, and braved a boring metro ride home alone. Going home started happily, merrily, drunkenly hop onto a train. It was quiet, but not too quiet. A couple of merrymakers out and about, but I got a seat with loads of space and a relatively quiet car, and with loads of space, and I kinda zoned out for a few moments. Our antagonist got on at the next stop. He was a big man, heavy set, but also just generally huge, and he stood near the doors. I don't know why, I just kind of ended up spacing out his direction. I was drunk, okay? And I did end up staring a little bit, not paying attention, just waiting for my stop. Gradually, though, I noticed he had this pool of pinkish red, watery stuff collecting in drips around his feet. Like, you know, the myoglobin you get in a pack of meat? My brain processed this as blood at first, so I stared like an idiot, wondering if this man was injured or something like that. When I made look up, I made embarrassing eye contact and realized two things. The liquid was leaking from this shitty, battered-looking backpack he was carrying. Seriously, who carries leaking meat in a backpack? And he was also staring at me. At this moment, I looked away. He came to sit in the opposite seat from me, still staring. I only had to wait one stop for the station I had to change lines at, but it was the most goddamn uncomfortable wait I've had for a long time. He stared at me the whole time with something my brain cannot decide was a rape face or want to hurt you face, since I was too scared to properly look at him. My station came. I got off the train. Meat Man followed, which I shrugged off. Maybe he lives at the stop, I said to myself, to be sure he wasn't following me, because he made me massively uncomfortable. I took a very counterintuitive and convoluted path to the platform I needed to catch the last train from, even at the risk of missing it. Fortunately, this station was quite busy and full of guards for some reason, or I might have just freaked out a bit there and then. I genuinely took the most stupid, time-consuming trip to the platform I could think of. I looked over my shoulder a lot, I kid you not. He followed me every step of the way, step after leaking step. I tried everything to shake this man. When my train arrived, I got onto one car, dived off, and ran into another, running like a lunatic to avoid missing it. He somehow followed me. I pretended to need to get off at the next stop, the station before my station. He started to follow, but didn't buy it. All I could think of was, oh my god, I'm going to be killed by the Russian equivalent of the Midnight Meat Train Man. This cannot be happening. I studiously avoided even looking at him. I did not want to miss my stop, so I just jumped off the train like a crazy person. Again, that day, luck was not on my side, because that asshole must have had the reflexes of a goddamn cat. My station was one of the ones which was genuinely really quiet, like a friggin' tomb, and it creeped me out the best of times. To make it worse, the easiest way home was through one of those convoluted Moscow Metro overpasses. I decided to do the stupid thing and ignore this man, just go about my business, and hope he went away. Halfway through the underpass, this man was still following me with his drippy bag and his crazed, unfocused eyes and his weird rape murder face, and Dutch courage kicked in. I was pretty spooked by this man, but I was also really pissed off suddenly. Like really fucked off. What I did next was stupid, but is a light-hearted end to the story of the scary Moscow Metro man. I wouldn't recommend it. It probably does not work on anyone but scary Russian metro lurkers. I wouldn't try it on anyone or anything else. For example, bears. Please do not try this on bears. I was also really drunk, which is probably why I thought fuck it and decided to do this. Aware that this man was still following me and closing in, and genuinely being very stocky now, I turned around, shouted, "If you don't leave me alone, I'll fucking murder you!" and other things to that extent in a drunken mix of Russian and English. I had kind of a very special kind of alcohol and fear-fueled temper tantrum, which involved jumping and flailing like a crazy person, swearing and throwing my shoes at him, out crazy the crazy. Eventually, I managed to get him to piss off enough to make a getaway, and put enough distance between us that I managed to actually lose him. Worth looking like an idiot for, I reckon. I don't know why he was following me, or what was in that goddamn bag, or why he looked so mad. He might have been drunk, maybe, and I know my imagination takes me down a dark route when I think about it. Maybe I was lucky not to be found face down in a ditch or something. Maybe he had truly nefarious plans, and I made it too much hassle to be worthy the payoff. Maybe there was something properly nasty in that manky-looking backpack. I'll never know, and I don't want to. On the other hand, he was scared off by a drunken woman, waving her arms like a helicopter, shouting threats and throwing her shoes around, so maybe he was just mildly creepy and not a threat at all? Again, I'll never know. But that's the story of the Moscow Meat Man. Hope it wasn't too long. The freaks come out after midnight. Hey guys, I just found this sub and I was immediately reminded of an experience I had just a few years ago when I was about 18. I had just graduated and was trying to enjoy summer while holding a full-time job as a security guard. My shifts were consistent, 1500 to 2300, so I didn't have much of an ability to hang out with my buds since they all slept through the morning hours and were finished having fun by the time I got home. Yet, my best friend Abel, who was also my neighbor, was always up on his computer when I got home. We were very close, and he'd always greet me at my house and wait for me to come out again so we could play video games, go for a walk, or whatever. If we went on a walk, as a precaution against any trouble we might encounter, I carried an air pistol that looks just like the real deal. Quite stupid now that I think about it. Our favorite place to go walk to was a portion of the Sokol Aqueduct that was about a block away. We'd walk along it, talk about teen stuff, throw rocks at passing trains, and it was awesome. The aqueduct went underground after about a mile, and typically, that would be where we would turn around. One day, Abel said he heard that it resurfaced at some point that was within reasonable walking distance. We decided we would go check it out. After walking through some desert, we found a road that led right to the place. There were 2 vehicles parked at the end of the road, which was strange considering it was 0200. We decided it couldn't all be all that weird since we were out there as well. Near the entrance, we met a couple dudes that were fishing for striped bass who were really cool. I inquired about the second vehicle that was parked next to theirs, and they said that they hadn't met the person and the vehicle was already there when they arrived. We bid farewell and set off along the dock. We were having a particularly interesting conversation, and it kept us walking a good distance from the resurfacing point. Abel suddenly interrupted the conversation, asking me, "Slick, what the fuck is that?" pointing at a dull red light about 300 feet away, along the elevated land beside us. It was obvious that someone was holding it by the way it was shaking, but we were convinced that they were probably good-natured after meeting the kind fisherman. As we neared it, the light source suddenly became white, very bright, and focused directly upon us. The person carrying it kept perfectly focused on us as we walked by, and we decided we would let them initiate any further contact. I started voicing my concerns at the creepiness of the situation to Abel, and he dismissed it, saying that we were two young fit teens that could handle some aqueduct-dwelling weirdo or something like that. After we passed them, we noticed that the light had switched back to its red filter, and that the person carrying it had come down to our level and started following us. Suddenly, Abel shed his dismissive attitude from earlier. We decided that it was time to see how we could gain the upper hand if this person wanted to try something funny. Swiftly, we scaled about 50 feet up the steep cut beside us to the top and waited, watching the light as it drew closer. The person stopped at the bottom of the cut and took a seat facing the aqueduct. At this point, Abel and I are seriously concerned. Once again, we pump ourselves up with the invincible teen talk and then decided to confront him. We start making our way down towards him, and I called out at him, "Hey, what's going on?" A thin voice replied, oh, hey." "Dude, come on, turn the light off." When the light shuts off, I see an older white, bespectacled man in casual clothes. He was about 6 foot tall and was a heavier build. I was eager to find out what this guy's deal was. "Thanks. I'm Slick. This is Abel." "Nice to meet you. I'm Bill." "Cool. So what are you doing here, following us and stuff?" "Oh. I come here often to chill, and I got excited when I saw you two. So I thought I'd come and see what you guys were up to. Maybe do whatever you guys were up to. I get kind of bored here. You seem pretty cool. What you guys up to?" Abel perks up and joins in. "Yeah, this is our first time here. We usually come out to the other portion of the aqueduct that's closer to the city." Bill seemed just a little off to me, but we carried a good conversation for about 5 minutes and he seemed alright. No major red flags were thrown up until we got further into the conversation and we asked about his job. When we did that, he must have gone a bit more comfortable with us, because he basically just let out his entire situation that he was in. "No, I'm unemployed right now. I work at local bank for about 30 years, but they just laid me off. So now I just stay at home during the day watching TV. And at night, I like to come out here and hang out, talk to the fishermen that come about and stuff." 30 years? How old are you?" 55. "Wow, you don't look like it. You must stay out of the sun." Here it comes. "Yeah, I almost never go out during the day. Been like that forever. The only times I was ever in direct sunlight was when I would drive to and from work." Never? Don't you hang out or have a wife or whatever?" No. I just mostly keep to myself, and I've never even had a girlfriend. Lately, I've been curious about guys, though. Met a couple guys to hook up with on Craigslist." "Oh, cool." Abel and I give each other the side eye. "So, don't you ever get bored of coming out here all by yourself? what the hell is there to do anyways? Oh, I always wonder at night. And when I found this place, I knew it would be perfect to do something. Well, this is gonna be weird, but I've always wanted to meet someone here and, I don't know, run around naked while they watch. I don't know what to say for a bit. That came totally from left field. Instead of asking Abel to leave with me, I go ahead and make this dumbass remark. Oh, well, nothing's wrong with natural, right? I heard that when you expose your nuts to UV rays, it increases your T levels. Oh, dude, really? Sweet. Bill then proceeds to rapidly unzip his pants and, despite there being no fucking UV rays for his beans to roast in, whips out his old man dick in front of us and gives it a little shake. Oh, dude, what the hell, man? We're not gay. Put that shit away, you old fuck. Bill is not disrupted in the slightest and calmly tells us it's natural and we should do it too. He'd even play with ours. He then started moving towards us. As a way of rejecting this offer, I pull out my air pistol, racked it, and pointed it right at him. Bill, being the recluse that he was, actually believed a skinny 18-year-old kid was carrying a real gun and cowered in fear. Oh shit, I was just kidding, don't shoot me, please. Look, you old perv, we're gonna get the fuck out of here, and you're gonna walk the opposite direction and do not even think about looking back at us, or I swear I'll fucking kill you. I don't even give a fuck, dude, straight up. I was quite confident at this point, and was holding the gun sideways and everything. Bill said he was going to comply and started crawling towards the light that he dropped. I quickly kicked the light in the aqueduct and motioned for Abel to get the fuck out, and we hightailed the fuck out of there. Once we were home, we had a jolly good laugh about it, and fantasized about being vigilantes, going out every night to beat the shit out of old pervs that were creeping at the duct. Then, we decided we'd rather stay home and play video games. It made for quite an interesting story for our friends, and we still laugh about it to this day.